Here I've got a large saucepan with about an inch or so of water in it. And here I have a fan. And I'm going to just turn that on while I cut my onions. I'm going to cut one end off. And then I'm going to go ahead and cut that other end off. Just going to make a line. A couple of lines in there. Just go ahead and take off that outer layer. I'm just going to cut not quite down to the bottom. So I'm not cutting it again into quarters. I'm cutting it more like I have 6 pieces here. So my water, I'm going to salt the water. Let's go ahead and stick them in. I'm going to put them in upside down. So I'm going to go ahead and cover it up. And I'm going to let them cook for about 15 minutes. We want to reserve about 1 cup of this onion water. So go ahead, strain out your onions and pour off about 1 cup and just set it aside. Now I'm going to melt the butter and do this on a very low flame. Now I turn off, actually when the butter's melted, I turn off the flame and I add a 1/2 cup of butter and I use that wire whisk I just showed you to really bring that flour into the butter, and then cook that for a little while to get the flour a little bit cooked, get the raw taste out of the flour. Now, even with the flame off, I start to add my liquid, my milk, and I'll whisk it together, get all the lumps out, make it smooth. I'll add a little more milk. And I continue to do that in about 3 or 4, addings of the milk. And I whisk it. Now I can turn my flame back on, now that that flour and butter is into that milk really nicely. Now I'm just going to salt it. I probably put about 1/2 teaspoon of salt maybe in there. That's to taste. Salt and pepper are always to taste. So there's some fresh pepper. Now this is going to cook. You want to cook it slowly. And it'll start to coat the spoon. But you want to run that wooden spoon with the flat bottom across the bottom of the pot, just to make sure it's not sticking. It's going to thicken up. You want it to come to a simmer. And now I'm adding nutmeg. This is a wonderful ingredient for white sauce. Just a little. You don't want it to taste like nutmeg. You don't want anybody to go, oh, this is so good, it tastes like nutmeg. You want to add just enough to give it a hint. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my onions that have been drained very well. And it's done. So I'm putting it into a casserole dish that we'll be able to either put in the microwave, or I'll cover it, put it in the oven, just to heat up for our dinner. Here are some beautiful string beans. And I'm going to make the French cut string beans. So what you do is I'm going to collect as many string beans as I can, and I'm going to cut off the tip that was connected to the plant. Don't cut the other end of the string bean. That's a beautiful end, the little pointed end. Just cut these parts that look like they came off the plant. Now this is a Frencher, a string bean Frencher, and there are blades there, and on the back side there's two blades, and when you put the string bean in, there's a little string on the side of the bean. You can see it, the line. You want to set that in there so the blades on either side of this little tool are going to cut that string off. So you see it coming out there? So you continue to push that through, and those little strings on either side of the bean will come out, and it will also slice it in several long pieces. So that's how you French a bean. And I saw online that you can get this little tool for about $2. I can't believe that's true, but and you're going to love this little tool. It's a lot of fun to use. Now here I have about 1 inch of water because I'm going to steam these string beans. There's my steamer. So you put that down there. You don't want the water to come up above the bottom of the steamer. So now my water's boiling, and I'm going to put my string beans in. I'm going to try to keep them all the same direction, only because later on, when I plate them, I kind of want them to all be the same direction. You especially want to do that if your string beans are whole. So a string bean, when it's cooked, should be fork tender. But you certainly can just try a piece and see how you like it. Here I'm browning a little butter. You don't want this to get too brown. If it does get too brown, just throw it off and start over again. You want it to be a golden, a very light brown. So now I'm adding my string beans. I'm going to put a little salt, a little pepper on them. I like to keep things very simple. Here are my whole carrots. To start with, I'm going to wash the carrots and then peel them. Now a little tip I just want to share with you regarding this, all the peelings, is that try not to put those down your disposal. We've had some problems in the past where when we're having a big dinner, we'll put potato peels down and it kind of clogs up your disposal, and that's not a fun thing to happen when you're having a big meal. So go ahead and throw most of them out. So here I'm cutting off the ends of my carrots. This is a tool that I found that has little waves in it. So when you cut your carrots, they kind of look cool. But the really important thing to know is that your carrots need to be the same size and thickness. So when they cook, they'll all be cooked at the same time. So you can cut them any way you like. So there are my carrots all ready to go into the water. Now this is cold water. I'm just going to bring it to a boil with my steamer in there. Just make sure the water doesn't go above the very bottom of the steamer. So there my water's boiling. I'm just going to add my carrots. And these carrots are going to take about 10 minutes to cook. They also should be fork tender, or give it a try, see how you like it. There are my ingredients for the sauce, which I have listed here. So my carrots are ready. I'm just going to drain the water off. Now they're just waiting to go into their sauce. The amount of ingredients you use really depends on how many carrots you have. So you want to always look at your carrots. I often look at my carrots while I'm putting the spices into the pan. That way I really know sort of what I'm seasoning. So I put, a little brown sugar, butter, lemon juice, salt, pepper. I'm going to cook that separately in my pan just for a moment. Let it foam a little bit. And then you can add your carrots to that. Just toss them around a little bit just to coat them with all that sauce. There's not that much sauce in there. You don't want to overdo it. So there are the carrots Vichy. And they really are wonderful.